The most aggressive means imaginable has recently been used to demolish the myth of online safety. The rap industry witnessed Curtis, 50 Cent, Jackson, and William Leonard Roberts II, better known as Rick Ross, engage in digital warhead trading from the complete security of their multi-million-dollar homes for more than 15 years. We looked at the memes. The trivial Instagram videos made us laugh. They flung at each other like pocket change, and we examined the financial receipts. However, the digital safety net vanished entirely yesterday inside Miami International Airport's ultra-exclusive gated VIP club. The Cold War erupted as soon as the runway ran out. What started off as a peaceful luxury layover turned into a terrifying sight. We are discussing a physical, intense, high-adrenaline altercation that has left one of the most significant feuds in hip-hop history, oozing with genuine animosity. The mahogany tables toppled, and the glassware broke. To prevent these two heavyweights from tearing each other apart, personal bodyguards and federal airport enforcers had to engage in a desperate physical struggle. The horrifying details of what actually transpired behind those frosted glass VIP doors have recently been exposed by an unnamed insider speaking under strict anonymity. This isn't simply another rumor on the internet. In the history of hip-hop, there has been a systematic shift toward violence. For the next few minutes, stay with me as we dissect the precise order of the violence, the audio that was secretly recorded on a covert device, and the catastrophic consequences that led one of these moguls to leave the state under armed guard. This is something you can't afford to miss. We must go back to the start of this disastrous rivalry in order to fully comprehend the seriousness of what happened inside that private terminal. This wasn't an isolated outburst of airport wrath. This marked the harsh, unavoidable end of a psychological conflict that lasted for 17 years. Beef is typically monetized in the corporate world of contemporary hip-hop. It is stream-boosted, packaged, and disseminated. However, the animosity between Rick Ross and 50 Cent has always been dangerously genuine. The game was played back in 2008. The BET Hip Hop Awards served as the venue. Industry legend states that as they passed each other in a backstage hallway, 50 Cent, then seated on the absolute throne of his Gina Dominion, sent Rick Ross a chilly, contemptuous glance. That expression was a deadly insult for a man like Rick Ross, who had spent years meticulously creating a hypermasculine, untouchable kingpin mythology. With the release of the notorious song Mafia Music in early 2009, Ross went to war right away. However, 50 Cent did what he does best. He didn't simply rap back. He underwent surgery. The world learned that Rick Ross, the self-described drug baron, had actually been a correctional officer at a Florida prison when the Gunnet General retrieved official documentation from the Florida Department of Corrections within 48 hours. In order to permanently destroy Ross's reputation in the hip-hop industry, he gave him the moniker Officer Ricky. It would have been a career-ending revelation for any other musician in any other era. However, Rick Ross accomplished something genuinely amazing. He refused to pass away. He continued to indulge in luxury, releasing platinum records, building Maybach Music Group into a formidable force with Meek Mill and Whale, and acquiring the Promised Land, a massive 109-room home in Georgia. Ross used extravagance as a shield for 10 years, trying to demonstrate that he was more powerful, wealthier, and grander than the guy who exposed him. 50 Cent, however, never let go of the throat. The psychological warfare only grew more intense over time. Dissension turned into physical altercations amongst their entourages during award ceremonies. Most famously, GNIT members physically attacked Ross's close friend Gunplay during the 2012 BET Hip Hop Awards brawl. The catastrophic court cases followed. After posting claiming that Ross could no longer sell out a venue on his own, he mercilessly ridiculed Ross' position on the Millennium Tour as a mere special guest rather than a headliner. He openly questioned why a purportedly extremely wealthy entrepreneur was filming himself mowing his own lawn rather than hiring a professional staff by focusing on Ross' personal content and starting the viral lawnmower controversy. Then, when pictures of Rick Ross waiting to board a commercial airline went viral, it was the height of rudeness. 50 Cent became quite petty. According to reports, he handed Rick Ross exactly $40,000 as a humiliating public joke rather than as a peace gesture, suggesting the biggest boss couldn't afford to keep his $35 million custom Gulfstream G550 jet in the air. The tension has been building like a pressure cooker for months. The internet was giggling. Memes were making the rounds. And on a worldwide scale, Rick Ross's pride was being eroded day by day. The rap community was aware that these two men could never coexist without a disastrous eruption. The industry held its breath, anticipating the inevitable intersection of their trajectories. However, no one could have expected that the explosion would take place in a high-security VIP sanctuary that is off-limits to the public and where violence is absolutely prohibited. The date was July 16, 2026. The venue was Miami International Airport's ultra-exclusive flagship Flight Support VIP Lounge, a heavily guarded private terminal where privileged celebrities, foreign ambassadors, and billionaires wait to board their private planes. Quiet luxury, soundproof glass, high-end leather, and diligent private security characterize this world. It is especially made to ensure complete solitude and tranquility. Rick Ross arrived to the terminal at approximately 2:15 p.m., according to a high-ranking airport employee who saw the entire episode. His recently renovated custom private jet, Maybach Air, which had reportedly just been equipped with a $500,000 Starlink Wi-Fi system, was supposed to take him to Colombia. 3 enormous, elite personal bodyguards accompanied Ross. He was wearing his personalized multi-carat diamond rings while wearing a bright yellow Gucci tracksuit with hefty platinum chains and, with all the assurance of a guy in charge of the city, he entered the lounge. However, as soon as Ross and his group entered the private eating area, the mood in the space became extremely cold. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson was quietly enjoying a glass of fine cognac while seated in a private leather booth at the far end of the lounge. 50 Cent was awaiting his own private aircraft back to New York while in Miami for a number of high-level meetings pertaining to his television production company. 2 of his personal security elements were with him. The entire room fell silent for 10 excruciating seconds. The employees ceased to move. The sound of crystal glasses clinking stopped. It was physically stifling how thick the tension was. Celebrities typically use passive avoidance in these high society settings. They silently ask to be transferred to a different private suite, glance at their phones, and murmur to their bosses. However, Rick Ross had reached his breaking point due to the unrelenting police trolling and the intense public humiliation caused by the $40,000 jet prank. He didn't look away. Rather, he made eye contact with 50 Cent, inhaled deeply, and proceeded straight to his booth. His 3 enormous bodyguards formed a terrifying wall of muscle as they walked with him. The security detail for 50 Cent got up right away and put their hands close to their jackets. However, 50 Cent gently gestured for them to stay put by raising his hand. He didn't appear scared. Witnesses said he actually had a sardonic, icy smile on his face. Ross halted precisely 3 feet away from the 50 Cent table. A close staff, the sound of glass breaking and wood crashing violently. The violent altercation happened quickly and in a disorganized manner. 50 Cent, a well-known physical competitor who has survived 9 gunshot wounds, responded instinctively. He threw the 300-pound billionaire backward into a marble divider after breaking Ross's hold and driving his shoulder into Ross's chest. Like a gunshot, the collision reverberated through the high ceiling room. Tables were turned over. The beautiful hardwood floor was covered in luxurious leather chairs. Immediately, the 2 entourages engaged in a furious, frantic frenzy. Ross's 6 feet 4 inches lead bodyguard lunged forward to try to tackle 50 Cent, but 50 security stopped him in his tracks, causing the 2 men to collide with an expensive champagne bottle display. A scene of complete dystopian terror was generated by the sound of glass exploding and upscale booze spilling throughout the room. It was an unadulterated physical struggle from chest to chest. While 50 Cent was violently pushing back and making quick physical punches to prevent the bigger man from pinning him against the wall, Ross was yelling curses, his face warped with a lifetime of suppressed fury. But then this encounter took on its first genuinely startling turn. Rick Ross's bulky black leather designer bag was knocked off a high stool and landed on the ground as the two rap icons grappled close to the edge of the VIP lounge's exclusive bar. The contents spilt on the polished floor as the zip split open due to the physical force of the altercation. Abruptly, there was no more physical fighting. The bodyguards froze. A quick, icy panic filled the room as 50 Cent's eyes grew wide. A highly classified red-stamped federal document titled DOJ Active Investigation/Cooperation Agreement spilt out of Rick Ross' personal suitcase and rested next to a stack of official-looking financial ledgers. More horrifying than the physical violence that had preceded the document's release was the silence that ensued. The accusation of being a federal informant is the most deadly and permanently radioactive label in the rap scene. 50 Cent retreated as soon as he saw the red-stamped federal markings on the documents. His cold, calculating eyes had entirely replaced his mocking sneer. After examining the document, he glanced up at Rick Ross, who was abruptly motionless and had an ash-gray face in the bright lights of the VIP room. One of the 50 Cent's employees quickly took a number of high-resolution pictures of the spilt document on the floor using a mobile phone before Ross security could respond. When Ross realized how disastrous what had just been revealed was, yelled at his security to grab the phone. The physical battle resumed, this time with twice the ferocity. It was no longer only a fight over injured sentiments or jokes on the internet. It was a high-stakes, frantic struggle for tangible proof. While 50 Cent physically launched himself into the pile to safeguard the phone, Ross bodyguards went at 50's partner, pulling him to the ground in a chokehold. They were yelling obscenities at the top of their lungs. "Take that out. You won't survive this airport if you don't remove that immediately." Ross let out a shout, his voice breaking with a horrifying blend of dread and rage. It was so loud that it could be heard outside the airport. The double-locked VIP doors were eventually penetrated by security personnel. The room was filled with 3 K-9 units and 5 armed Miami-Dade police officers brandishing their firearms. SFX. Police dogs barking violently, loud sirens, and screaming. "Everyone, take a step back." The lead officer gave the order to instantly step back and place your hands on your heads. The physical violence was finally brought to a grinding halt by the presence of local and federal law officers. Ross and 50 Cent were forcefully separated and restrained by several officers. Their garments were ripped. They had messy jewelry. Additionally, the opulent lounge was left with. The MMG chief was apprehended at MIA carrying government documents. Officer Ricky has returned to work. The discovery caused the internet to collapse rather than simply react. By 5 p.m., claimed to have gotten a supplementary leak from a source near 50 Cent's camp, according to a well-known hip-hop media outfit. According to the site, a federal investigation into high-level money laundering and illicit distribution networks from Colombia to Miami is directly linked to the cooperation agreement discovered in Ross's suitcase. If this was accurate, Rick Ross was more than simply a former prison guard. In order to shield his own enormous $150 million business empire from an impending indictment, it was implied that he was actively assisting federal agents. The story had entirely changed. Suddenly, the biggest boss was dealing with the worst credibility crisis of his life. The number of questions was growing at an alarming rate. Was the Starlink jet upgrade only a front for frequent travel abroad as part of a government agreement? Was federal interference protecting his estate in Georgia? The rap industry was perched on a historical cliff as the sun started to set over Miami. And just when we believed the drama had reached its pinnacle, one of the most influential producers in the music business released a single cryptic comment on a verified Twitter account, sending the whole story in an entirely different route. 2026's digital environment doesn't wait for official police reports or press announcements. social media platform X was totally paralyzed by the flood of users attempting to look for the leaked film within hours of the violent altercation inside the VIP club. In less than 6 hours, the hashtags #MiaClash and #Officeriki accumulated almost 8 million postings, taking over the top 5 trending positions worldwide. The hip-hop culture was immediately split into two very antagonistic, warring factions. On the one hand, the devoted followers of Rick Ross, who are renowned for their unwavering dedication to the MMG brand, started a big defensive effort. They asserted that the leaked paper was a low-quality AI-generated fiction that was placed by the 50 Cent's team in order to damage Ross's reputation prior to the release of his eagerly awaited album. Do you idiots really think Rosie, a rich boss, carries actual federal documents in a gym bag? Due to his dwindling Las Vegas residency, 50 Cent is engaging in a desperate funded defamation campaign. In just a few minutes, one viral post received over 50,000 likes. However, 50 Cent's enormous online army proved unrelenting. Emoji icons representing police badges, handcuffs, and lawnmowers inundated every comment box beneath Ross's Instagram pictures. They said that no AI generator could duplicate the precise administrative markings of the Southern District of Florida Federal Court, citing the exceedingly detailed legitimate serial numbers displayed on the leaked document photographs. There was a chilling, icy quiet in response from the hip-hop industry itself. Prominent musicians who had previously worked with Rick Ross abruptly started discreetly deleting their social media accounts. For hours after the leak, a well-known Memphis rapper who had been highly featured on a number of Ross's iconic songs reportedly unfollowed Ross on all platforms. It was an obvious message. The simplest hint of federal cooperation is a very spreading illness that can destroy a career in the hip-hop industry. The public responses from well-known media figures followed. With over 300,000 concurrent viewers, DJ Akademiks went live on his streaming platform and showed Ross's past court appearances alongside the leaked photos. Guys, this is the end of an era. I'm telling you now that the MMG brand is dead if a federal court reporter verifies these documents. When you have a red-stamped collaboration agreement in your personal luggage, you can't rap about drug lords and bulletproof trucks. The beef wasn't merely won by 50 Cent, Akademiks said,